Here's how you make transitioning to marketing-led demand generation growth simple. And yes, it is possible. So here's the thing. Initially, what you want to do is, again, the keyword here is to keep things simple, and you want to add layers of granularity as you go along. Okay, and here are the 4 areas which you need to focus on. Okay, so focus on these 4 areas and it'll keep the framework simple for you. Number 1, market. So you got to have your defined ICP/buying committee. Okay, so if you're not clear on the market, if it's not defined narrowly enough, then when you're launching a program, it's just not going to fly because your messaging is going to be way too generic. Which brings us to the second point, which is the message. Okay, so when it comes to the message, you really need to have a value proposition that stands out. Okay, UVP stands for unique value proposition. In mature markets, you can't get super unique. Like, it's very hard to say to have a stance in a mature market that is like so out of this world, that is so completely unique from everyone. The point here with the unique value proposition is that you want to have a strong stance on a matter that is important for your target market, and you've got to be repeating that consistently from several angles, okay? And this is done by strategically creating messaging and just being consistent about showing up and communicating it to your audience, to your category. Okay, so the first 2 were market and message. Now, the third important component of this framework are the content mechanism, which we can call assets, in other words. Okay, so this is about what content / community or events you are creating to really engrave your message and to drive your positioning in your messaging home and to engage your buyers. Okay, this is how you generate demand, and this, by the way, is the heart and soul of your entire go-to-market strategy. Okay, and the 4th and final component, which is sort of the top of the pyramid, if you want to imagine this framework as a pyramid, so it's like what you pierce the market with, is action, what we call action. And action is about all of the processes and all of the motions that will warm up, nurture, and activate your target accounts. Okay? And if you don't have that, what usually happens is that you have some sorts of contacts, which you call leads, and then you just pass those on to sales, or you use these primitive nurturing motions that just don't work when it comes to high value, high contract value deals. So the question is, do you have other systemized ways to capture demand? And that's what this 4th component is really about. If you're focused on these main themes and the core components within each, then that'll take you a long, long way. But even at the launch of your new program, being the outcome-driven leader that you are, you will want to be using metrics. Actually, metrics are the first things you want to nail when you're launching any sort of go-to-market program, be it marketing, sales, or a general big revenue program. So you want to start with metrics. Now, a lot of people get caught up because metrics can get tricky and complicated. So here's how to keep it simple. Number 1, you want to measure your marketing and sales activities according to 3 indicators. When you're measuring marketing and sales activities, you want to use these 3 types of indicators. Number 1, demand generation metrics. Number 2, demand capture metrics. Number 3, retention metrics. I'm going to go shortly into each one. So make sure you view and measure go-to-market holistically. And you need to understand the consistent activity at the beginning of the buyer journey, which is demand generation, will have a direct and indirect effect later in subsequent stages. So in pipeline metrics and even retention. Now, what that means is that whatever you do to raise the awareness of people in the marketplace who aren't aware of you yet, and all the activities you do there, which we can call demand generation, will have an indirect effect on people who are already in your funnel, already in your pipeline, or perhaps even existing customers who are also partly exposed to this activity. and they will just appreciate it, and this will help them stay around longer, okay? And why it's important to nail this is so that you know that whatever you do in any part of your go-to-market sequence, whether it be marketing in the beginning of the buyer journey or sales activity later down the line, everything you do will have an indirect effect on all the other components. And the only reason we're saying this is so that you don't get overly obsessed about what activity impacts what. It's very safe to assume that every meaningful thing you do, or every negative thing that you do as well, will have ripple down effects, okay? And if you're able to get alignment around how you measure all go-to-market activities, you will be the glue between the various functions: sales, marketing, customer success, even product, which is an immensely valuable thing in today's fragmented GTM, okay? So if you're a founder or a CEO in a smaller company, then probably you will want to be this glue, because not many people, not many companies of this size realize that what you really need is a coherent mechanism that isn't fragmented into sales, marketing, and customer success over here, that isn't driven by just heavy outbound sales, but that is integrating seamlessly all these different functions and making sure that they act as one body, as one mechanism to build your market and to get sales at the end of the day. Okay? If you want to better understand where your organization sits in the journey to demand generation, or call it go-to-market, or ABM Nirvana, we do have an assessment that'll help you figure out where you are. And it's also going to tell you what the next best steps are if you want to mature along this journey. So there's probably going to be a link somewhere around this show, and you can check it out if you want to. And with that, we're going to check out of this edition of Electric B2B Sparks.